like to separate even with like metaphysical dream state realities,
Yeah,
you know,
lucid
where
dreaming,
you could have like some
psychedelic trips, yeah, spiritual
biological,
experiences, like all sorts of altered states of mind.
yeah, I mean
Schizophrenia,
like LSD, mushrooms, people that walk around in the
psychosis.
desert and have hallucinations about oases or like that's all that
Exile.
all kind of falls into the realm of
Sorry.
metaphysical in one form or fashion. And then there's a whole bunch of communication that I tend to tie into to metaphysical and like there for a very long time. You know, you're walking up on somebody or ever since the invention of the telephone, somebody makes a phone call and someone that hasn't thought of somebody in a very long time. Oh man, your ears must have been burning. I was just thinking about you. Like
Yeah,
there
that works.
tends to be like some type of energy that permeates the the unseeable essence of energy and atomic matter and structure in the universe. And
That's a fact. And between people, notice that that happens mostly like and provably. Something that you could empirically like collect data for. It's like the connections between people. Like the probability of those meetings are like so low, and yet like 8 years after like silence, you write to a person and they write, "Oh, I was just thinking about you yesterday." I'm like, "What? Like what is the possibility of that?" And I messaged to that lady. I couldn't even remember who she was. I met her when I was in the States. Now I'm in Russia. And I just messaged her, and she's like, "Oh, how's your life? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I teach, and I also host my VR talk shows." She's like, "Oh, VR, I own a Quest 2. Like, where do you have your talks?" I'm like, "What? This is like another, like, very low probability for a woman. Like, for women I know, like, zero of them have VR headsets, I think, in my real life. Like, zero of them." And yeah, but I need meet a lot of people in VR from other countries, and it's very curious how we stepped into the era of the metaverse. I've just been playing the Beat Saber game, and it's just so, engaging. It's just like spiritual practice for me to play those games. It's like a trance because it felt like I've been playing one game. I think it was some rock like something like Rammstein or something like a very heavy music, and the experience was as if I was being born, and like I was very close to some, like, bottlenecks of like natal period and all of that. If you followed Stanislav Grof's line of thinking, that we have like four natal stages that represent wars and like the war zone vocabulary. And a lot of times in the history of America, actually, the military officers, they actually use the words as baby and our, like, to conceive a baby, to transport a baby, to deliver a baby, which meant actually nuclear weapons or any other deadly developments. Yeah, that's I maybe probably I talk too much. I don't trust Facebook
yeah, I
that
mean
much.
like I was just following the track of your dialogue there, and
With
we
who?
started with you writing a letter to someone and someone saying that they were just thinking of you, and then them owning a headset, and then you being a teacher, and then
And the next day, actually, she
uh
came to my VR talk shows, and it was,
military this
whoops,
There we go.
hi,
Where are you, Trim?
itching ballsack. Do you need assistance with that?
They're laughing at my name.
It is funny. I like it.
They're laughing at my.
It is
There's
funny.
some woman laughing at my name, Trim.
No, really. I just want to add you as a friend. You sound very funny. I value sense of humor.
so what do you teach?
I teach English to Russian speakers. I also host my VR talk show here, Theory of Everything. Have you ever seen the posters? The weekly talk show about philosophy, spirituality, all kinds of stuff.
No, I have not.
we had like over like 85 or something events over 2 years here in Allspace. We
Yeah,
probably
I
have
haven't
been
like the last.
to different time zones.
Funny, I bought this like 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I maybe used it like 8 or 10 times, and then just like here in the last week or so, been I was kind of surprised whenever I logged into AltSpace and I saw that it was closing down on March 10th, and like I guess there was something that's like, I wonder how much AltSpace I can get out, how much I can get out of AltSpace before it closed down. And then I've now
Opportunist.
just been kind of surfing and trying to find like what platform piques my interest the most. And I've been a huge fan of Facebook. Like Facebook obviously, like they developed the MetaQuest or purchased the rights to the MetaQuest after it was developed, and I do a lot of stuff for like small, medium-sized businesses in terms of like their web storefronts and allowing people to sell products and things through web display. And that's not a very far stretch of imagination how they might allow people to set up shops and allow people to purchase goods and potentially services
Hmm.
through a VR type setting. But obviously they're not there yet. But I also
Mm.
was checking out Mozilla hubs, and I don't know. I haven't been like for me it's more about I think a lot of the presentations with like, and of course they didn't have a lot of these developed and presented the months ago that I was visiting more often. The like the story of Moses, or like just biblical stories, being able to place you in a metaphysical yet very immersed experience, experiencing the context of these philosophical, theological parables, metaphors, allegories related to stories that have guided mankind for thousands of years.
Yeah, fairy tales
And
of
you know,
different countries. That would be fun.
I think I think that's very interesting. I think it's been a very interesting thing, just like going in and checking out Noah's Ark and Moses parting the sea and receiving the Ten Commandments and different places where Jesus was preaching. And it's it's a very different experience to experience it in this kind of format, as opposed to like I tend to have a really good imagination, but uh there's just something in an immersed visual experience that's a little bit different than reading things in a text. And a lot of other things that I'm interested in. Like I do architectural AutoCAD, and I've been a 3D designer for some years. And the 3D stuff isn't all new to me as far as like designing stuff architecturally, or um even like scene setup or whatever. But being immersed in it in VR with other people where you can chat and communicate, it's I don't know, it's something that like I didn't value until I saw Alt Space VR going away. It's like, wait, hold up a second. Like, gonna there's gonna be some people that you share your contacts.
Yeah, I just like every time when I have these talk shows, I just enjoy the community so much that I met in Outspace. I think the people are really valuable. These contacts that I had, like I think that all the conversations I've had in Outspace were very valuable to me, and like in many terms. And I would love to keep contact with people. And I say that you could like whenever I see people, I like to ask them in person. Like, my name is Azi Limitless Mind. I'm like this and this and talk show, like blah blah blah. So that way too, we can keep in contact. Just to know that we both were on Altspace and we met in person at least once. Like with some people, I've been friends for 2 years. I had people who died, like here in VR, and that was very genuine. Like I really miss that person I have never seen in my entire life. And when they died at the end of summer, like his name is Paul Leff, he's been around for a long time, and he was like elderly British gentleman, and unfortunately he died a little bit early, I think, than I expected it to happen. He was 69. I think it's not too late, too early.
So where are you
I don't
from
know.
originally?
I'm from Russia, like Caucasus. I'm a
From
Caucasian.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really funny because it's the region of Russia where allegedly people came from. That's why white people are called Caucasians in America. But it is very funny because the people who live in Caucasus, for Russians, we're actually black people, which is funny because they actually call us black asses, which is very hilarious. How ironic that is.
So in your theory of everything, what seems to be like the most response that you get from other people?
Actually, we had the peak concurrent attendance at 34 people, I believe, at once in the room, and then there were like over 100 people who joined and left. Like there was like a flux of people, but at least 35 people were there. At least like 5 of them were my close friends. Like 10 of them were medium close friends, and like the rest is just like people I don't have no idea who are those people. That event actually was on religion, because I think we had some interlapping like time zones with some of the religious groups. I don't know why, what happened. It felt like they migrated to theory of everything. It disrupted the atmosphere a little bit because I couldn't handle all the groups, and the space was not united. It was like, divided into many groups, and I'm like, oh my god, it's the first time I have to manage a larger number of people, and there's chaos. There are people who are religious and they divide into small groups and talk to people like in person, just like in close groups. So that was a little bit strange. But yeah, we took control of the situation after maybe 30-40 minutes, because it was fun for me to watch what's going on, like naturally, to see the formation of fields. Anyway, so after that we had like conversation on religion from different points of view, because
So
they're
how about with like your students, and like where do you get the most receptiveness and the most engagement?
when I try to take them into the different world, because I get fired up, and it's just like too much for anybody to take. So they naturally get contaged by the enthusiasm that I feel, and I just don't talk to them in Russian.
What subject is it?
Quantum physics, spirituality, souls, incarnations, religions, fear of death, fear of dreams, like.
I have a very interesting hypothesis on this subject. What's your
Mm-hmm. Keep asking questions. This is
idea
interesting.
huh?
Yeah, keep asking me questions. It actually really helps to think.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your take on that subject? And I'll tell you my hypothesis after you go first.
Which subject? Like, what's interesting?
No, on spirituality and quantum mechanics.
Yeah, there are a lot of topics actually. It's like so random. Sometimes I can just bring some texts to read. It could be about anything, like books, for example. I ask them to write different like stories of on their own, like to a certain topic. Like not a certain topic.
Well,
They
what
could
about
write.
yours? Your
Uh,
personal viewpoints. Not theirs,
um,
yours.
my favorite topics, or like I can't quite understand the question.
No, your perspective, your worldview on the similarities or the comparisons or
There are
the
Abrahamic
gap
religions,
between
which,
quantum mechanics and spirituality, or
yeah,
I mean, like
that's
I have a very defined, definitive way that I would communicate
That
not
sounds
specific
like fun.
subject.
If you have it in your mind, I have nothing on my mind, so I would use this minute to try to explain it to
Oh,
you.
well, then I'll go ahead and tell you my hypothesis, and a lot of it's based on my near-death experience.
It's not gonna be a
And
clear
I was
experiment
I
if
was
you give
I
it
was
to
20
me.
years old, and I had an outer body
Hold on, hold on, hold on,
experience,
hold on. It's
and
gonna be.
I inhaled too much. I guess it was laughing gas, which is
How old were you? Sorry, I wasn't paying enough
nitrous
attention.
oxide. I was 20. It
20.
was
Okay.
a whole bunch of nitrous oxide. It's a very cold gas, and I had an outer body experience. It probably lasted for about 45 seconds, and it was probably like one of the like that feeling of love is probably
Unexplainable.
the if you were to say like the strongest addiction that you could possibly have, but
Life.
if you wanted to feel that love for
Right.
eternity,
Mhm.
that would be like the ultimate addiction, right? Like there's nothing that touches that feeling that that's of this world. Like it does not feel of earth. It feels divine. It feels heavenly. Like it was just
Spiritual
mind-boggling.
experience. Yeah, yeah. Altered state of mind, which
So
could be, yeah, specified
the
as spiritual.
metaphysical aspects that I've come to understand in that experience, and with the subject that I was talking about earlier, like your
Quantum
ear must
mechanics.
have been burning, or you walk up on somebody and they say, "Oh, you must have been talking about me. Your ear must have been burning." Something attracted you to some part of a conversation where you were being talked about, or you picked up a phone. So there's a connection in the metaphysical in that time.
Yeah. Quantum
in in quantum
entanglement.
entanglement
Okay. Yeah.
in quantum entanglement we know that there's particles that can be entangled at long distances. So I kind of feel like that experience falls in a quantum entanglement situation, and after death, my energy can neither be created nor destroyed, law of conservation of energy. And at the expiration of our life in this place in the universe, through quantum
Hey,
entanglement,
Benjamin.
I feel like that's how reincarnation or a rebirth, or you could be a
Redeath.
hydrogen atom that gets stuck in the sun
Hey,
for
how you doing, Shane?
eternity, or dark
Yeah, I'm all right. How
matter
are you?
that's in the deep of space, that's in the blistering negative 300
Being stuck
degrees
in a bad trip.
Celsius.
Yeah. And.
I mean, like a cold hell and a hot hell
Mhm.
and everything else in between. I mean, like you could become a blood cell in a entity that feeds oxygen to its muscles, or you can become a parasite that helps
Or
it
a flower.
digest food in a stomach, or you can be a semen that's about to pollinate an egg and be a conscious entity
A
such as we
bee.
are now,
A
or
part of a collective
anything in the
hive. Yeah.
spectrum, anything in the spectrum of matter
In
in the
collective
universe.
consciousness. Yeah.
There could be this quantum entanglement experience at the expiration of our life here that directs us to our next responsibility in the kingdom of heaven,
Hmm.
which
I think heaven is right now.
that's
We should act as if heaven is right now on earth.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So when
it
I'm
doesn't
saying
hurt any religion.
our next experience in the kingdom of heaven is like here we are living our responsibility in the kingdom of heaven now, and that's why I kind of stated as our next responsibility in the kingdom of heaven. However,
Hmm?
God and our, it's one of those things like you never know about like what's that called,
Free dive.
destiny or destin like
Predestination.
do you feel like what
Maktub. Predestination. Fate. Anything.
predestination, like just like you like God's plan for your life
Yeah,
type thing
maktub
as
in
opposed to
Arabic.
free will.
Yeah, as we are in a desert, they have the Arabic language actually has maktub. It's like I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but it's like a notion that hi Cornelius, how are you? I haven't seen you forever. Nice to see you. I'm glad to see you, my spiritual brother. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, I lost my thought. Where was I?
You're saying, um, there's a word in Arabic
Yeah,
in the
maktub.
desert.
It's like it's written on your forehead. They say in Muslim culture, like when they talk about the predestination, the freedom of choice, they say that there is a freedom of choice, and God loves you. That's why He gave you the freedom of choice. Even the angels, who are like 100 times better, higher, like more loyal and powerful than humans, they don't get that luxury of freedom of choice because they have to follow the God's rule, right? God tells them what to do, angels. Think about the fact that if there's no Lucifer, there's no God, if you think about it. If there's only God and there's heaven, you live in heaven. You can't understand that God is good or bad because it doesn't have any, other part. It doesn't have the binary system. So when God is alone, it's not experienced as highly, or it's a different experience. Imagine an experience of a living creature, a living soul, flying into space in real time for 1,000 years without, with certain disabilities, I would think. Like, imagine you can move, you can think, you can spend your 1,000 years in your cabin of your, I don't know, spaceship, whatever, and TARDIS, maybe it could be TARDIS, retardis. Anyway, so it would be fun to spend like 1,000 years like that if you were, for example, a witty, fun guy who likes traveling around and who likes to have nice conversations, doesn't have he has all his relationships are genuine, but at the same time very shallow. Because you don't have to spend so much time with a person. If you are entangled with this person and you both are advanced enough, that's enough. You can fly to different directions, and just like your fields are so powerful that you don't even have to spend time together. Isn't that amazing? You could save so much time. You could just have entanglement with one person for 1 second, even imagine, and to be connected with them for the rest of your life. It's like phone number. You could exchange phone numbers and you could be contacted for the rest of your life. We are connected like that already. Surprise, surprise. I might get your number right now, or maybe you could get my email right now. That's a direct contact with me, and a lot of information you could get on different platforms, right? And yeah, we have digital traces already, and I think that make your life count. Don't be a crappy person, right? And don't enjoy your life and live, play this game as if it's your last game. And that would be a hell of a world where people live as if they're in heaven already. Act as if you're in heaven.
And I think over the course of time, humanity has been evolving to that higher state of consciousness. And there's something that's called the Kardashev scale. I
Hi,
don't know if
Will.
you're aware of the Kardashev scale, but the Kardashev scale is, maybe you've heard,
Tell me more.
I hate to slaughter the gentleman's name, Miko Kaku.
Michio
The
Kaku, yeah,
physicist.
the Japanese guy.
He he talks about the Kardashev scale quite a bit, but it's type 1 civilization, type 0 civilization, type 1 civilization, type 2
Yeah, it's
civilization,
Asimov
type 3
actually.
civilization.
I think, if
And
I'm not
right now we're a
mistaken.
type 0 civilization. A type 1 civilization is a civilization that can harness all the energy that's outputted from the sun.
Yeah,
A
Dyson
type 2
sphere.
civilization is a uh
Psychic.
civilization that could harness all the energy from the
The system.
galaxy, and a type 3 civilization would be uh, a civilization that could harness the energy of the universe or something along those lines.
Yeah,
And
sounds
you know,
sick.
the amount of energy that we're producing and consuming, and the type of evolution that's coming down the pipeline, and the state that we're currently existing in as it relates to um I don't know, I think we're at this technological innovation and
Slash spiritual
post post
revolution.
industrial revolution,
Fourth technological revolution.
underpinnings,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're going through this artificial intelligence, and what's employment going to happen. At the industrial revolution we had 85% of the population was farmers, and now it's 5% of the population is
Yeah.
farmers. now we're going through this artificial
Services.
intelligence boom and this energy capture and this energy storage innovation and these energy innovations with uh not nuclear but yeah,
Fusion.
nuclear fusion is
Mm-hmm.
instead of fission. And
Lesion. Brain lesion.
there's battery storage technologies that are being developed that are significant.
Who?
And
I.
there's a lot of design concepts, urban design concepts, civilization design concepts,
Any money
access
into
to
that?
education through online portals that give you a very high quality, consistent education from person to person. And like there's just so much innovation and there's so much potential and there's so much possibility, but we're still like
Primitive.
we're with this like grips with the carbon economy, which thank the carbon economy. The carbon economy like
Yep.
got us
Fossil fuels.
from like this primitive man to this like advanced species, and now we're transitioning just a little bit further to like a this
Clear energy.
type one civilization. It's in the
Mm-hmm.
Kardashev scale. Like we're gonna have this capability to produce all this electricity and the utilization of all of this new technology in ways that will allow us to restructure the way society currently works. And it's gonna be disruptive just because it's outside of the the norms or the conditions that we're conditioned to
We're.
currently. And
What?
it's
What
a
about?
it's a very interesting intersection of
Yeah, and
innovation
name the
and
other
capability.
quadrant of interesting conversations here. Because if we move into this era, we talk too much about the things. What about the feelings? What about the abilities? What about the human revolution, evolution? Extensive versus intensive development, because extensive is when you grow, like when you're a farmer and there's a forest, you come there, like not farmer, like a hunter gatherer becoming like an agricultural person. You just find the forest, cut all the cut trees down, like take them for construction elsewhere, and then like burn all the roots of the trees, and like just like make it your crop or something, like grow crops and something like that. That's basically deforestation at the in the beginning of the cycle. And then it's been happening for so long that you just like imagine in your mind what's the surface of the planet right now. How many people are on the planet? We don't have that data. I want to see that data in my eyes. Like, what's the population around the world? Imagine living in China. They're like 300, sheer numbers. Americans' population is
1.3
300.
billion,
Yeah, 300 million.
one
Yeah, the population of
1.3
China,
billion.
1.3. In
Yeah,
India, even more. India has become like the
India's
leading country.
1.3 billion.
Yeah, that's like 4 times more. Even more, like three, 4.5, 3.5. What's
I think
my?
they're about the same. India and China are like
Yeah, but compared
pretty
to
comparable.
America, like one
Oh
person
yeah,
living in a house instead of like 4 people in the same house.
yeah. They definitely have a higher
Density.
population density
And
per square
yeah,
mile.
imagine the competition
But
in such.
it's still one of those things. Like a lot of my urban design concepts, like my family's general contractor, so I have a construction background, and like I kind of like
Same by the
highlight
way.
in urban design and health make like a lot of these concepts that I'm talking about.
What do you do for
Um,
living?
I definitely have a very solid urban design plan and ways. Like I think VR could be a potential revenue,
Space.
like alternative revenue field for some like training and education purposes.
I
You
do
get
you want to
paid
see?
to,
Do you want to try to explore the like different locations while we still can? There are 2 weeks left, and I believe that there are many interesting people online right now and some events. Pagoda Scope, and like there's some event there, and you could check out my space before we leave where I have my events, and we could also see some favorites, like there are some different interesting worlds. For example, Trippy Cavern, Cleopatra's Boat, and then like Bitcoin Cyber City. There are some interesting spots like Brainwaves, Marine Worlds Experience by Daisy Show. They're like interesting locations. I would go around them once again. Oh, for example, there's like a technology nel metaverso. It's like a space that has a, yeah, let us find something like a city, right?
Like a city for
Like with planning, because you said urban planning. It's not just like houses.
urban
Cities,
urban
city
planning.
to learn
Okay,
languages.
I do things like very like within 3/10 of a foot.
Mm-hmm.
Very accurate city planning type stuff. There's a lot to city planning.
Mm-hmm.
Zoning planning,
Can you show me some worlds in alt
weird
space that are interesting and elaborate in that
geological
sense?
structures that are what?
That are interesting
I'm
from.
actually like
Mhm.
working on something right now.
Show me. Can you show me?
Um,
Oh, I'm curious.
yeah, it's in Facebook Horizon.
Okay, maybe it's time for me to move there. I just had my headset updated, and can I access it using just PC?
No, you have to use the headset,
Okay.
but Mozilla Hubs you can access just using your PC.
Mm-hmm. Mozilla Hubs. That's
It's
fun.
interesting. Like yeah, like and it seems like it's like a Unity developer and software engineer, blockchain developer.
Hubs
Got
Mozilla.
a lot of experience in
I definitely like your personality, very genuinely. I really like the way you speak, like your thoughts, and I feel like it's just a joy to talk to a person who has like very interesting thoughts, ideas, and hypotheses, and like we could discuss some interesting stuff. That's I just genuinely enjoy conversations here in VR. I mean, in Altspace, because I think it's gonna be gone, and I'm just like too overwhelmed because there are so many interesting people, and I feel like I'm losing them, and they're not interested, and I want to be in their company, but I don't know how to reach them because I'm like my abilities a little
there's
bit limited.
a Facebook group that's like called something like something alt space VR. I've got your email. I'll send you the Facebook
Yeah, that's
group
if that's
name.
possible
They
because.
start up and they got a number of different additional VR platforms that
Mhm.
people are suggesting. Hey, try this out, try
Spatial,
this out, type thing.
spatial
But
utopia.
Spatial's one of them. Then they have several like
Yeah, I
VR
really need
chat
help.
and
Yeah, I really need help. Some like I know the overview, but I need the experienced user of different platforms so that way I can consult and make sure I am gonna choose the most convenient and interesting strategy for a theory of everything to continue because it's my baby basically, and I want to take it to the next era with me. And I really want to put my effort into making it a real community of like very interesting people like you. I find you very interesting. I wish you could be my friend like forever. Like if we could have like hours and hours of conversation and tripping, that would be amazing. Because I enjoy talking to people who have like rich experience of life and like just interesting stuff to tell. And I just enjoy life so much that it's heaven for me already. I live in heaven. I'm happy every single day. I'm married for like 5 years and I love my husband, and every single day is a party and joy for me because like there's like so many things you could value, even though if you're like your country's at war and like you're blocked from and isolated from the rest of the world and you have no idea are you going to live tomorrow or not, and you have to think about buying like apartment or something or taking mortgage, and you're like, I have no idea where I'm going to be in 20 years. How can I take mortgage for 20 years if I don't feel like I know I have a plan, because I don't even know that the world is going to exist tomorrow because of the darknesses of
but
our
I
life.
mean and that's a part of essence of life. It's like the
It's hard to
you
accept.
can be walking across the street and you could get hit by a car
You could, but in
like
some countries
there's
with
so many
higher
variables that could
possibility.
bring an end to life at any point in time that like it's and that's outside of chaos, like just
Hmm.
human made chaos, which is sometimes necessary too. But again, it's one of those things where like it no matter what the condition of life is, like there's a saying, be the light in the darkness, be at peace while at war. So it's like you could be in the midst of what many would consider a hellish situation,
Yeah, but you're in
and
trance.
you stay calm and you stay focused and you
Turn
focus
off
on
some systems.
now. You then like it's you every moment is what you make it, no matter what condition you're facing in whatever environmental situation that you're in.
Yeah, I'm
That's
actually
essentially what that
addicted.
quote
I'm
says.
actually addicted to some states of mind where you get into so flow state where you have like it's like time stops. It's like being in love. Like it's the same intensity of feeling where it's like it shuts you out from this world. It's just like so amazing. Just like I think that many people die without ever experiencing something that I have experienced in my under 30 years of my age. I'm ready to like to tell like my story for a long time because my life was very rich in events and feelings and emotions and knowledge and like experiences I could share. Like I love like when I share my experience even with myself, like as if I'm reading the book that I specifically wrote like as a joy for myself, and I made myself forget the content of that book, and I'm reading that again not knowing that I've written that book. And isn't that amazing? Like I think having amnesia is just amazing.
Yeah, no, like you can the mind is an amazing organ.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
you can mold it to store information in a way that you can recall it in a certain way, or you can mold it to forget you wrote something and
Yeah, you can implant
hopefully read
memories.
to you again. Or
Have you
yeah,
heard?
the mind is a beautiful organ. It really is.
Yeah,
Like
but like
if you,
it's
if you know how to if you know how to control that organ, and that's the thing. Like how many people actually know self discipline and self control over that organ? That's a
ye-
it's a very like I don't know how difficult it is to get like grasp of that organ. All I know is that like I've for a very long time I've been studious in strengthening that organ
I
so
agree with you.
it
That sounds so
functions
much
it
like me.
functions to my benefit. But I don't know
Yeah,
how
and
many people like
studying.
I don't know a lot of people I don't know a lot of people that like I'm a polyglot. Like I'm a music producer and I do
How many
architectural
languages do you
AutoCAD
speak?
and I do 3D design and I do software engineering and I can work on my car and I
Which
build how
which
like I'm
languages do you speak?
I just a whole bunch of programming languages.
Ah,
The
I
only
thought
languages I've ever
human
tried to
language.
learn is English. Like, I
Like
mean, I speak a little bit of Spanish, and Spanish has actually a lot of similarities to French and
English. It's a
other
Germanic group of languages. English, French, Spanish,
French. Spanish is
Italian.
the Romance languages. Yeah, French, Italian,
They're
Spanish
they're all
are Romance
similar.
languages.
True,
A
true.
lot of like once you learn one of them, you can they all. And I'm decent with Spanish. Like, it's not a language. I don't practice it a whole lot. It's not. I mean, there's I
Yeah,
live in
like
an
with
area
programming.
where there's a number of Spanish immigrants, so it's like I and I traveled to
Well, I do speak three languages
quite a few,
fluently, and
but
around five
it's
of
not
them.
something that I focus on a lot. It's like my primary focus is programming languages and
Yeah, I would love to
software programming.
I would love to discuss linguistics because I teach languages. I speak three languages fluently. One of them is very like indigenous. It's a very rare group of languages, which is very different from anything you heard. Sounds a little bit like Chinese, difficult in grammar, no logic whatsoever. It's an animalistic
Yeah.
language. It's like one of the languages that is being extinct at the moment, so I'm trying to preserve it. I do speak like four or five languages at the beginner level, other than that. So the three primary languages are Kabardian or Circassian. That's the original language that I had, my native one. Then I'm a
So you use
bilingual.
like Rosetta Stone or
No, no,
Rosetta
I was
to
born with it. It's like my family spoke this language and Russian because we live in Russia. We like a tribe living in Russia, so it's like Indians living in America. and but we're still able to preserve our languages, but it's just like naturally dying because the culture is not vital. I mean, not vital. I mean, it's not. It's like it can't survive. Yeah, it can't survive because it doesn't, like, people do not develop as in the direction of nowadays.
Vital's the right word.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, it's very interesting to understand and see the similarities. That's one point. And the second point is, like, when you learn a language for long enough, like English has been my second language. I started learning it when I was like 6 or 7, like minimum 5. But like the language abilities, they're closing at 7. So I kind of jumped into the last train of American like accent and all of that. I could have, spoken French, but I never had got a chance to learn it because I didn't have any person around me to practice with. But I speak a little bit of French. I can understand if you talk to me like in German, French, like all the European languages that are in the same group, like with Germanic languages. I could understand what you're talking about. Like I've been to Egypt and there was a guy who had like an excursion on safari, and for like few hours, like 5 hours or 6 hours, he spoke for English, but the main part of the group was from Germany, and that's why he actually, and like a few people from Russia. We have very special third world communications with Egyptians because we're both poor countries. And he spoke German to the rest of the group, and he was too tired to repeat the same information 3 times, like in different languages. So he was like, too lazy to speak in Russian because there were just 2 people. So I could understand him like in German. He would explain things like, oh, they use milk and to build this bread. That these are people who live in the desert. They're like Bedouins, and you would be surprised that they live to up to 100 years. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought that I misunderstood it, but people were first surprised. And I just realized that he said something interesting. I'm like, okay, well, what's that spike of emotion? What was that? And then like I heard the number, like something around 100. I'm like, oh, he probably says that they live for 100 years or something. And that's why people are surprised, because it's no hospitals. It's a desert. I'm like, hell yeah, that's genetic selection for this type of, composition that allows you to live in the desert. Mm-hmm. Like
I'm sure it takes a very certain kind of
metabolism and all of that. Yeah, imagine living in the desert, like a never-ending desert. We see the mountains here, and it gives like a very different vibe. I live in the mountains, and actually it's a very unique experience too. I've been skiing for like since 2005. It's been like 18 years. Oh my God, let me say that in proper English. Okay, it's been already. So I have been skiing for like 17 years, 18 years, something like that this year. My first time was on 4th of January. It's just a unique experience because it's like a luxury sport or something. But yeah, like I was lucky to have it like on a regular basis every year. And it's just interesting that you're in the mountains. It's like a luxury resort, and like everybody's just like, they look different. They're fun, like they're colorful. They have like unusual, technologically cool clothing. And you spend with like random people, like you take rides by cable car, and every single time you look at the people and they're so different. They have conversations, they drink, they like, try to clean their goggles, or maybe like work with their equipment or talk on the phone. And like you watch them every single time, and they're wearing some interesting, like for a child like with ADHD, that would be like a generous concentration of stimuli for eyes and ears. And
so
like
don't just have like regular chairlifts. You have to take a gondola.
We do, but like there's a cable car cabin where you sit inside. There are like 6 to 8 people. Like there's highly technological, but you still have those like old-fashioned open seat. Yeah. We still have that. That sounds.
The mountains that I've been to, it's just like all just regular chairlifts.
Yeah, it is fun. It's like, and why? Because it's 5,642 meters. It's like one of the 7 peaks of the world, and that's why people like from all over the world, like mainly from Poland.
High of an elevation.
Yeah. It's like a unique nature. Like when you go up like there, you see things that like don't look human because they're so different. Like they have different shapes and like colors and like textures, and everything is just so unusual. Like I saw a mountain like lake that looks like so unique. and I'm like, wow, there's sand. I'm gonna run there. But I didn't realize it was just glacier that has been melt like maybe 200 meters above that, and it's like super cold. Like I have never experienced such cold, water in real life because there's no such space in
Funny that you say that. Just last year, like Colorado, we have the Rocky Mountains here.
Yeah. Have you been to the like Continental Divide something? I've been there to that lake. That was amazing, and I actually dipped into the lake, so it was like legendary.
Yeah, there was the lake here the one that I was about to say I put my foot in. I went hiking on the Colorado Trail, which is I guess along the Continental Divide in Colorado.
Was it? Let me try to remember. There was like a Coors factory somewhere on the way, like some major city, something like Golden, not Golden.
Yeah,
Don't remember.
Anheuser. I've been whenever I was real young. Went to was it Coors or I think we went to Budweiser, and it's like down somewhere close to San Antonio or something.
I can check out the map. I
Bush.
think if I remember.
I'm not a real big drinker, but
Same.
there's a spring fed, and just to talk to how cold water is at altitude and snowmelt. There's a spring that a spring fed river. It's like during the blistering heat of the summer, it could be like 95 degrees, and that water's still like
Oh my God,
65 degrees.
this is so difficult. You don't use metric system.
And
It's annoying.
I thought like I went directly from Colorado in the mountains to a lake that's in high altitude. It's called Lake Tahoe.
Tahoe?
Lake Frisco.
Lake Frisco?
Lake
What's the name? Frisco. Sounds like cold.
It's in Colorado. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful there. It's in Colorado.
Let me check it on the maps.
And went from it's actually a city called Frisco in the lake.
Poison Canyon, Middle Creek, Pinan Lake. Pinan Lake?
It's
Anderson
the city-
Liberty
the city-
Ranch.
The city is called Frisco. What was that
Frisco
lake
Lake.
called? Frisco, Colorado is the name of the city. And then I went directly to the spring-fed river, and I was thinking that the lake was going to be colder than the river, and it was the other way around.
It's beautiful.
And the river's at a place called Beaver's Bend in Oklahoma.
Cool.
And it's both places are really beautiful.
Yeah, I think I've been to a couple of national parks as well, like something like in Virginia. I've been to Virginia, and I have no idea what was the name of the park. Can't remember it. Like if I see it, I'm gonna remember Virginia. I have some like ancient photographs. Virginia. No.
Was it called Frisco Lake? I think it might have been called.
I googled it. It
Lake
looks
Tahoe?
like Alamosa, La Junita.
Are you
Like
talking about Dillon Lake?
I could. I wish I
Dillon
could.
Lake, and that's
Oh,
called
it
Frisco.
was Santa
Yeah,
Fe.
it
I
was Dillon Lake.
think.
Yeah,
You're
sure
in
is.
Colorado.
Colorado. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where's the Continental Divide Lake? Something like high in the mountains. Like
The Continental Divide goes all the way from like Colorado
okay,
through
that will
Mexico, and then
Colorado City.
Mountain Range kind of like stops right there, but then it goes up through California, and then it ends like right before you get to like
So it
I guess right
was.
before Oregon.
It's been like an hour and 30 minutes
Washington doesn't have a lot of
from
mountains,
Longmont. Longmont.
You got a Cascades in Washington.
Okay, Longmont is the other way.
that is the name of that lake, Dillon Lake.
Boulder,
It's right,
Lakewood,
right by Aspen, and
Colorado Springs.
Aspen is a little bit of distance away.
God damn it, I don't remember where was that route. Mount
All that right there is
Evans.
Continental
Picking up
Divide.
pieces of it. Are you talking about the Continental Divide?
Yeah, we were deep into some like different direction of conversation. I can't even remember. Spiritual development, something like unusual experiences, like saturated life experience. We were sharing how we swam into like the mountain lakes, they were very cold, and I was explaining how the mountain nature is so different because the laws of physics are different in the mountains. For example, water boils at a like lower temperature or higher temperature, something like that. I've noticed people who had like different experience in their sensations where they were in the mountains, not only being bloated or something like that. It's funny because the pressure is different. Even if you take like, it's very funny when you take the roll, what's that, like the antiperspirant, like what's that, deodorant, something like that. When you take that with a roll, like that rolling, little ball that is like caught there to use it. When you go into the mountains, because of the change of the pressure inside, inside the tube and outside, it might pop out because of the it pushes the air inside the isolated, deodorant or something like that space inside it. It just pushes the little ball outside because it's like it just expands in the mountains because the surrounding pressure is lower, and that's why the particles of air, they're not as dense, and that's why like the space inside the package is denser than the surrounded area. That's why it just like makes the ball go out just a little bit, but it's enough to pop it outside and lose it somewhere in your room when you come the first day in the mountains.
If you live in the mountains,
Yeah.
in the mountains, you tend to, especially in Colorado, you'll
Similar.
get altitude sickness, and at 6,000 feet, we usually tell people to start drinking water.
And cover your head.
Try to adjust and not enough oxygen.
Yes. And people actually take like rather, as I said, like Elbrus is one of the 7 peaks, and people like mountaineers, they actually have to take all the way to, it's a serious expedition if you want to get to the top of the mountain. It's like it starts easy, but like the more you go, every step is like you're dying. Like so many people experience like that's also like hypoxia because there's not enough air up there, and people get crazy sometimes if they're not adapted, if their body cannot take it, they just fail. They sit down and they start waiting for, like they have hallucinations and like delirious. Yeah, correct. And so it's like sometimes Elbrus mountain. Elbrus, Elbrus.
Oh, okay.
Elbrus. It's like the territory of Russia, the mountain chain between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So it's like somewhere in the middle. It's like one of the highest volcanoes. It's like this area has been very active for a long time. But like right now, it's the volcano that is like dormant. Is that the correct word? Like it's sleeping.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And that's why you still have, it's like a perfect area for life. Nothing is going to happen to you. The biggest threat that you have, like from nature, is just like the possible earthquakes. This zone is like potentially can have earthquakes, but not like severe ones, I think, because the area is relatively calm. So like there are no dangerous snakes, no dangerous spiders. There are like no poisonous or venomous creatures basically. Only like infectious diseases are mild, and and it's funny that you can use the mountain area like to hop from one side to another because North Caucasus is colder and it's like more severe, and the left, like the south part, is Georgia, and if you just drive 6 hours from like over the mountains, you get into a totally different climate zone because they have like all the air, like humidity that is so nurturing and like all juicy that comes from all those Mediterranean seas and like all the warm seas from the south. They stay in Georgia because the mountain range kind of stops the air masses, and like it just like drops down in water, and water is actually the life of the region, because when you go to, another observation, when you go into the mountains, the dishes that they cook, they may look revolting, like, or maybe like not very like beautiful or attractive. Like this is not something you would put in a Michelin restaurant or something. But when you start eating it, you realize like that's like the most delicious meal you can imagine, like at the moment, because you enjoy the food so much. And I'm like, what's the secret? Like I couldn't understand what was the main secret. Maybe I thought that the local women, they're so like hardworking and like caring, and they're like Amazons, like Amazon ladies. Their men are even more like crazy, and they like these families are so different because they live in the mountains where you can die every single day. Like your house, had a friend, like a group mate from my college, that I came to visit their house. Their house was located on the mountain, like by the avalanche dangerous zone, like by the river. Their house could be just like damaged and destroyed overnight by an avalanche or like some kind of like natural disaster. They could be gone, like all four of them. Imagine living in an area that is not like friendly and you have to survive. And that's like really just like interesting experience, that when you visit that world, it's just like so different. That's so like kind of, it's a rich experience when you have it at an early stage. And I think that many people around the world did not have a chance to have this experience. And it's so cool. Like that kind of opens up this window where I think like about all the pockets of the universe that I have no, if you think reasonably, I don't have resources for this life to experience all these right now. Like if from the trajectory of the movement that I have right now at my, okay, everybody's gone. Hi, Mardoswar. Can't hear you.
How are you?
Good, good. It seems I scared these guys. Everybody ran away. How have you been?
Spending what a little time's left in alt space. I just wanted to see what was happening.
Yeah, same's here. I actually got lazy on my VR talk shows, and I'm just like hanging around today. Didn't put like, for 2 weeks we haven't had any events, but like I really enjoy every conversation I have here. I was going to ask that guy an email, but he's gone. I think he was too intimidated by the conversation. I don't know. I don't care. I just recorded it, so like it kind of helps me think.
Yeah.
How have you been? How's your granddaughter?
She's pretty good. I was just playing on VR with her just a few minutes ago.
Rec Room again? Or
was on VR.
What do you play?
Pardon?
Rec Room? I think you said that you.
Well, we were playing in Rec Room.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Not a big fan of it, but she likes it so.
Yeah, I remember you said that there are so many games you can play together. What are your favorite games that you play with her?
One of them's called something Golden Trophy. I think she likes.
Golden Trophy? I have no idea.
Yeah, you're running around in like a castle and you're trying to